Alright, welcome to another video, and in this video you'll be learning mathematical functions. And of course, as usual, we learn by doing. So I've prepared some questions again for us to be able not just to learn the formulas, but to be able to think, right, while learning. Beyond thinking, you're able to apply it practically to solve a problem, because this could be business questions, right? And you want to be able to use those formula. It's a different ball game when you learned a formula based on what you were taught, right? Maybe in a training or in a place, in a school, right? But when it's time to apply it, sometimes it feels entirely different. You can't easily snap your finger and come up with the right functions. But with this method of learning, right, you'll be able to think along with me. Okay, like I said, there will be no as it were, this is not a cut and join edited, make all nice kind of video. No, we're thinking together along. We're thinking, oh, how do we solve this problem? What's the best formula to use? And of course, at my use of formulas, you might have other or better suggestions. Do well to leave them in the comment section. It's all appreciated and welcome. Okay, so the aim or the end goal of learning is to be able to apply. Knowledge itself is not the value, but the application of the knowledge. That's where the value is. Okay, so not to waste much time, we'll be jumping right into it. And as usual, if I feel too fast or if you think I'm too fast, do also use the playback speed, so take it to slow it down a bit. And if you have multiple devices, you can do well to view on one device while you're doing or while you're practicing on the other device. And as usual as well, I don't know how many times I've said as usual, but it's okay. For every video, right, there's always a quiz attached to the video itself. Not the one I give you directly while teaching, but towards the end of the video, some quiz will pop up. Feel free to take them. They are usually about 5 questions maximum. Okay, they're just simple questions to test your knowledge based on what you learned, right? So it's just to keep you going, keep your mind active. The best way to learn is when your mind is active. It might not be a convenient method of learning. When I mean convenient, it might be tedious because you're tasking your brain. Your brain wants to relax. It just wants to watch passively. But when you watch passively, you have to go over it and over it and over it again. But when you watch actively, that means you're thinking, you're brainstorming, you're writing things down, you're practicing. Of course, it might take longer. It might not be convenient, it might not be as convenient, but you will learn better in the long run. Okay, and that's why all of this are put together for you. Okay, so the first thing we want to do, you can see this is the data we have, right? This is the data we have. We have the category, we have the product, we have the price, we have the quantity, discount. Okay, I added that already, so it's okay. So then the sales rep, right? The first thing we want to do, as usual now, okay, I'll just stop saying as usual, is to put our data into table. Okay, we want to put our data into table so that we can get all the features of the table, such as autofill, automatical expansion, some nice features like that, which is cool. All right, so that's what I want to do now. And of course, as usual, pardon me, to put the data into a table, click anywhere within your data and it's Control T. Immediately you do that, it will pop up this small window right here that says your table has header. That is correct. So it's highlighted the range of our data automatically. It's really smart enough to do that. And yes, my table has header, so I'll click OK and boom. Now, there's one thing I want to point out here. I'm not sure if I mentioned it during the series of ribbons, and it's what we call the contextual ribbon. What is a contextual ribbon? We have basic ribbon, for example, the home, the insert, the draw, page layout, etc. Right? But we have one that is contextual. You can see it is highlighted differently. It's a green color. Look at my cursor. It's a green color, okay, and it's highlighted differently. Now, this is based on a selection. I'm seeing this because I clicked within this table. My cursor is within this table, you see. Immediately I click, now pay attention to this. Even if I click just outside the table, it disappears. So it is contextual. Sometimes you see learners trying to say, oh, or probably they're watching a video online and they're like, oh, I'm not seeing it, and you feel like you're doing the same thing, but you're not getting the same results, right? So immediately I click back into the table, it appears again because it is contextual, and if I click on it, you see all of the options that we have there, right? You see all of the options that we have there. So it's important to keep that in mind. This also applies for function, for shapes, for charts, for pivot table slicers, etc. Okay, so they are contextual, they are based on your selection. They don't stick there. So if I click out, it disappears. So don't wonder or don't be surprised by, oh, I can't find it and panic. Okay, you don't need to panic. Just click within your table. If it's a chart, just select the chart. If it's a shape, just select the shape, and you get the contextual ribbon back. Okay, so first of all, I'll take out the filter, and I would like to keep things simple. Okay, yeah, I like it clean and simple like this. So the next thing I want to do is to make my header bold. Ctrl B and give it a slight gray background. That is this, right? Yeah, so that I can tell it differently from my records. After this, the next thing I want to do is reorder this table. I'll prefer if I have this as first, then category, then products, then the rest that way. So I'll bring this forward. Now I have it. Yes, I know you might have the question, how did you just move it? What did you do? It's okay, there's no need to panic. To reorder a column, as long as we have it in a table, we have quite a number of flexibility. You see, these are the benefits of putting our data or formatting our data stable. It comes with all this feature. Okay, I'll just click on the header, not the column alphabet this time, the header itself. Okay, and I'll bring my cursor to the edges. Okay, the edges this way, or this way, or this way. Now, one thing is important. I emphasize this at the beginning of the series, that your cursor determines the function you can execute. You can see the cursor icon now, it has changed. If it's like this, this is B plus to highlight. If I come here, this is to fill. Okay, while this is to what? To drag. Now that I can see my draggable icon, all I want to do is left click on it, and it will automatically select the entire column, and then slide my hand to the direction where I want to take it. And you can see the line telling me where I want to drop it. Of course, we have already moved what we wanted to move, so I'll keep that there. And yes, this is what we have now. Okay, so this is looking all nice. I think, yeah, I like the way it looks. So let's jump into the question. But before we do that, one important thing as we proceed, right, all of these things will be incorporated gradually, is learning how to format your data properly. It is an important skill. It can be easily ignored, yes, but these are the things we have to learn and incorporate as we go. Now, for example, let's take a look at this price. I can't tell what currency this is. I can't tell which country or whatever it is. What can I do? I can either apply it to all the column, but for now I just want to keep it at the top. So we can just say, let's just add the pound sign to let's say denote the currency. So this is the currency in this case. So I necessarily don't need to add it to all of this. By the header alone, I can tell that, okay, this is the currency. Of course, you can feel free to highlight it. Control 1, right? Control 1 to pop up this your format window, and then go to your currency, give it any currency you prefer. But for now, I'll keep it this way, just pound sign. Another thing we need to do is the comma style, okay? And which is this, so that we can easily read our numbers. We don't get confused while trying to read the numbers. We don't start counting zeros, right? So with this, and I'll just remove, of course, before I remove the decimal points, we know what this error means. Like I said, once we are done with lookup function, there will be a dedicated video to Excel errors, common Excel errors, what causes them, and how we can correct them. Okay, so I'll just expand them. That's what that means. Whenever I see an hashtag error, it means the column is too small, the width is too small to accommodate the values. Okay, Now that I've expanded it, let's take out the decimals like that. This is better, okay? And we have quantity. Of course, this is already in percentage, so I don't need to change that again. So we have discount showing that this is in percentage. All right. So let's jump into the first question. As usual, yeah, I just have to say the velocities. We've been doing it for a while. So we're typing in all the functions we use here. Okay, we'll be typing them in here so that you can have a grab or an overview of everything we learned. So the first one, it says calculate the total revenue generated from each product before any discount is applied. Before any discount, we can see that we have the discount column. Now we want to calculate the total revenue for each product. So that means for laptop, what is the actual amount that it was sold? The price tag, which we can consider the unit price, is 450,000 naira. Because I already used the pound sign. And the quantity is 2. That means 2 of these laptops were sold. So how do we calculate the total amount? So I will just add a column before discount, because that's why I want to keep it before the discount. So I'll title this revenue, or we can call it sales. Okay, call it sales, call it revenue, whatever it is, whatever works for you. Revenue, since the question says revenue, so we stick to that. Before discounts, like that. So what does that mean? All we have to do is multiply this with this, right? For each product, we want to find out the revenue for each product. So that will be quantity multiplied by price. And yes, we'll be using the function called product. And do not worry, I got you. Just in case, now you only get this formula probably in more recent version, if I'm not wrong, 365. So it's okay. I'll click on this in comma. I'll click on this. Okay. So we're saying I want to multiply this with this, and then I'll close it. Now hit enter. And of course, because we have our data in the table, you see we get the autofill option that you can now correct it or stop. You don't want it to do that or whatever it is. You can correct that here. You can change that here. So, but yes, that is what we want. We have it nice and clean. So, just in case you're using earlier versions of Excel, 2007, 2010, it's a C. How do we do that? It's just a simple calculation. This multiply by this. Now, let me explain. You might be one of the curious kind of person, as they say. Curiosity killed the cat. Okay? But satisfaction brought it back. So it's okay to be curious, right? It's okay to be curious. Let's look at this. Man, I've been wondering, what does this @ sign mean? Why does Excel add it automatically for us? First thing first, do not forget that we are inside a table. And for every table, we get a named column, which makes our calculation nicer. We don't just see random D2 times E2. We'll start wondering what is in D2, what is in E2. Here we can see, okay, we have the price column multiplying by the quantity column. Nice, very descriptive, which is better, right? So what does this @ symbol mean? Since this column, okay, since this column name, this price, is for the entire column, quantity is for the entire column. So this @ symbol was added to show that it is an array. This name is for all of these. Now, if we accidentally remove this or intentionally remove it for any reason, okay, let me remove this as well. If we remove it for any reason, you can see that it automatically highlighted the entire column, which will cause a problem in the long run, okay. Now, if I hit enter, this will give us one of Excel errors, not so common, many do not see it, but if you, of course, you'll be seeing it now because you go beyond the basics and the normal. So this will cause a spill error. Now, once I hit enter, Excel is telling me the formula you typed in could return multiple values, which ends the word array. In Python, it's called list. JavaScript is called array. Some programming languages, most programming languages call it array. Python calls it list. Okay, you can call it an Excel list as well because the list row 2 to row 6. Okay, now it's telling me that the formula I type could return multiple values, which is not supported in tables. Would you like to use the following formula? You see, it corrected that this is the best thing to use. But if I say no, let's see what will happen. You can see I'm getting a spill error. It's spilling over. It's trying to do all of this calculation in one cell. It's spilled over. It's trying to do the second one. It's spilled over. Do you understand? So how do we correct that? So I'll undo it again and come back here. And when I hit enter, it says, yeah, do I want to use this? It says I want to do that. And then you can see how nicely it's worked now. So it has been corrected for me. You can see, very nice and clean. So that is that about the array formula. So you can think of this when you're trying to do something else. Make sure you had it so that it doesn't show errors like this. Now you understand this kind of error. Okay, so let's move on. We have been able to answer the first question, and of course we will give this a green color to indicate that we have answered it. Nice. On to the next question now. It says get the total price value across each product and identify the most expensive products. That means the total price value across each product. That will be the total sum of price, right? I want to see the cost. Eventually, that could be the cost of all our goods, right? Cost of goods sold. So, at least cost of goods made. So you get the idea. So, to best do that in a very clean way, first of all, let me put in the formula we used here so that I don't forget that. Products or the asterisk sign, okay, for people who might not have that. Now we'll be hiding some columns as we go so that we don't I'm trying to keep the view. You see my zoom level is at 150 so I can see the entire screen. So I'll come here and I'll say sum of price, sum of price. Okay, yeah, sum of price like that. We still have other things. Control B. Why did I leave a column between my sum of price and the discount so that it doesn't automatically add this to the table range? Okay, so I think I might need to add one more just in case we want to add new columns at the end. All right, just like that. So I'll scroll this way. Now, what else does this say? It says, and identify the most expensive product. Expensive product, that will be by price. Expensive product. Now put by price. So that means in this case, we'll not be seeing the name of the product. We'll just be able to trace it or tell that, oh, based on this, this is the product. Of course, we can now combine some other functions, right, using nested functions where you put a function inside another function to be able to get the actual name of the price of that product. So for now, the first thing is the total price across all products. So that means it is a sum. It is a sum. So right here, we'll be writing equals to SUM, sum. We open a bracket. And of course, we can just type our, let's say that will be price. Okay, it's not giving us the price for one, so we can type it this way, price. Then it's just giving us formula, but let's just go and highlight it anyway. Oh, yeah, we're outside the table. So since we're outside the table, we will need to type the function name. I don't want that. We'll need to type the table name first. So let's escape that and let's give our table a name. Go back to table design. Currently saying table 4, so we can just change that to math function. All right, and yes, that's the table name. Now we are moving to the table name. If we go back, it now has math function. So back to my sum formula. I can come here and say equals to sum math function. You can see the table now appears. Okay, well, of course, the first time it will highlight the entire column, and now I can go to what? Price. So you can see how nice that came out. Okay, so this will give us what we want. Just in case, I had to show you that in case you want to do it that way. Why is this useful? Why did I show you that? Just in case you are in, let's say 3 sheets away, you are in another sheet, but you want to use a column from that table, you can see how nice it is, the flexibility of the table. You don't have to go back to that sheet. As long as you have properly named your table, you named your table, it will display all the columns and you can select it. You don't have to go back and forth, clicking here, clicking there. You can see how nice that is, right? Good. So don't worry, this is not your regular YouTube channel, YouTube videos or videos. You can see there you will definitely get more value here. Okay, and do not forget active learning. Very important. Do not learn passively. Do not just sit there behind your screen and let's just view. That will make you go over again. So but be active. Okay, let's jump into it. I'll highlight this and you can see that is exactly the same thing we got, like what we did before ourselves. Okay, so I can just hit enter. It automatically closes the bracket as long as I don't have a nested function that might cause an error. So I'll just hit enter and it closes the bracket for me, and I get this nice sum of price. Okay, so that's the total of all of this. I've answered that question. The next question now is to identify the most expensive product, and of course from the price. So we're saying, how do we know the most expensive product? We're saying the one with the highest price, right? That's what it means. Good. So how do we find out? We'll use the max function. What does the max function do? In case you've forgotten what a function does, just type the function name without opening a bracket. As long as you immediately open a bracket, what you will see will be the argument to pass in. Do not forget we covered this in the basics of in the introduction to function, right? Where we broke down how to write a function, the types of function we have, and all of that. So if you want to see what a function does, do not open the bracket yet. It says returns the largest value in a set of values. It ignores logical values and text. So if I open the bracket now, it's telling me to pass in my argument. So since we know we don't want to go through, we don't want to scroll back and forth, we can just type in math. Okay, then we open a square bracket and I select what? Price. Just like that. Easy peasy. And I close the bracket. So I'm saying get me the highest value within this range, and I hit enter, and that is 45,000, which is laptop. Do not forget that. That is laptop. And if we check, that is laptop. Okay, that is the most expensive. Nice. We'll be able to answer question 2. The next question now is find the average price of all products in the list and find out how many products are currently being sold. 2 things. You can say that most of the questions are combined 2 in 1. Find the average price of all the products in the list. So we want to find the average price, which is this. So we'll go back here again. We'll come here. Then we'll say okay, average price. Average price. Good. Now how do we do that? We use the function average. Oops. Okay. Of course, we still cover Excel functions or Excel errors, but this is another error. One of the reasons why you can have this is when you type a function name incorrectly. Okay. When you type a function name incorrectly, not just incorrectly, but you type the function name without opening a bracket, you just hit enter. Okay, just hit enter. That way you can also get the function error. So a couple of ways how this error come about. So average, again, we type our table name. You can see how easy this is becoming, right? And then we'll go to our price. Close the bracket. course it will close the bracket for us. And this is the average price. As usual, format it again, comma style, remove this. Then the next question, it says, and how many products are currently being sold? Number of products. Number. Okay, so I can get this formatting. I'll just drag this down and type number of products. So how do we know the number of products? We want to count the products. Okay, we want to count them. And how do we do that? We use the count function. Count. Then we pass in our table name again, math function, open the brackets, P, so that it just shows us this quickly, and then we'll close the bracket. But I can tell you for free that this will not give us what we want, but let's check it out. Boom. Oh, okay. Well, I counted price, my bad. Don't worry, we'll be using price for a while now, so I just counted price. Products, exactly. So products, escape. Sometimes I like to correct the function myself, so you can actually see what you did wrong. You just don't accept the correction. Another active way of learning. Okay, find out what went wrong, so that when it comes, or when you meet it some other time, you know how best to correct it. Okay, so yeah, okay, and this is what I'm talking about. We get a 0. Remember when we used that with the price before, we got 5. But now when we're trying to count the product, we got 0. What does that tell you? Very simple. It tells us that it does not count text. It's as simple as that. Count alone does not count text. It only counts numerical values. Of course, non-blank numerical values. That means if the column is blank, it's not going to count it. By default, they skip blank columns. So how do we count product? What do I mean? You don't understand. Let me show you what I mean. Price. Now we're getting 5 because we're counting the price values. Okay, let me scroll very quickly. We're counting the price. But if I delete this column and I delete this column, we should be left with 3 now. You can see what I mean? Good. So that means it doesn't count blank columns. But that's not the point. We want to count the prices. We want to count the product, not the price. How do we get that done? We'll be using another formula called COUNTA. I call it counter, count A, whatever it is. So we use count A. This can count text, right? Non-blank as well. It counts text, it counts numbers, it counts literally whatever it is you want to count. Now it's enter, and we're getting what? 5. So currently we have 5 products being sold. Okay. So we have used a couple of functions. Let's type them in here. So the next one is sum, right? We used sum. We used average. Oh, we used something before average. So let me scroll to find out. Expensive. So we use max. Okay. Max. Of course, to get the lowest price or the least expensive, we'll be using min. Okay. Max. The way we use max, we just type min. M-I-N. Minimum. Maximum. Okay. So we have average. We checked counts before we now checked count A. Alright, so that's what we have used so far, and we have been able to answer question 3. Alright, moving to the next. Calculate the average revenue for each product after applying discount. I want to calculate the revenue for each product after applying discount. Now, there are a couple of ways to do this, and it can be a little bit tricky. Okay, it can be a little bit tricky. Now, what are the steps? We know that for that calculation, we'll need this in decimal. Okay, so we need this in decimal. Once we have this in decimal, the next thing we might want to think of, I won't change it to decimal anyway. The next thing we might want to think of is, let me break it down to you this way. Let's take this 9,000. Let's put it in. Oops. Do not mind that. table, and just paste as values. Okay. Now this 9,000. Thank God we have 10% here. So how much is this product sold? That's what we want to find out. The revenue after discount has been applied. Currently, before the discount is applied, is 900,000, right? It is 900,000. So now we want to calculate how much it is after the discount has been applied. So 10% of this is what? 9,000. You probably guessed right. So for us to now get the actual amount that it was sold, that will now be this minus this, right? And that will give us 891,000. Okay, is that no 90,000? I mean 90,000. So that will give us 810,000. But how do we get this? So to get this, it will be this multiplied by decimal value of this, right? This divided by 100. You see that? So this divided by 100. So as I said, we could have done this to decimal first. Okay. Now, what if we don't want to end up with this? Okay, we calculate it. That's because this will be extra column, right? Then we now end up doing the subtraction. We don't want that. We can do it in a go. So how do we do that? We can say 1 minus this. And you can see how we got that directly. Okay. Don't worry, just relax. What did I do? Why did I put 1? You don't understand it, that's fine. Now, when we turn this to decimal, we get 0.1. Is that correct? Good. Now, when we subtract 1 from 0.1, what do we get? 0.9. So, this value, when multiplied by this, gives us the discounted amount. That means how much we removed, how much we deducted from the product. But now that we have subtracted it from 1, which is 100%, we'll be left with the actual decimal value of how much we sold it after removing this discount. Okay, so that's 1 minus this gets us 0.9. So when we now multiply 0.9 by this directly, we get the actual amount it was sold after discount was applied. I hope that is clear. Just take it back again, just take it by a few seconds and then play that again. Because we'll be using the formula in one single go. Alright, so back here now. So revenue after revenue, so that it can correct that for me. Revenue after discount. Okay, now what I want to do is carry out our calculation. So that will be this. Okay, multiplied by, we open our bracket, that's 1 minus the decimal value of this. So let's open another bracket for that. This divided by 100. And see, do not forget, if everything looks messy, we can always format our code well. You can either expand the formula bar and do it directly from here, however we please. Okay, or we can just leave it the way it is. So I can bring this here and do Alt Enter, so it breaks to another line, and I can see now. Okay, revenue before discount multiplied by 1 minus the discount of 100. That means the decimal value of this discount. Plus 1 minus this will give us 0.9 for this first record, and 0.9 times this will give us 810,000, which is the actual amount that it was sold. Okay. If we had not calculated this before, that means this place would have been price times quantity. I would have gotten the same thing. I hope that is clear. Alright, so I'll hit enter. Missing parentheses, so let me cancel that. Let's see what I'm missing. Oh, okay, I opened a bracket for this guy. The red, you see how the color code, I've always emphasized this. The color code tells us and gives us sign. So now to close this black bracket, that means I'll have to what? Come to the back and then do this. So everything should be fine now. Nice. Now we've got our revenue after the discount. Now there was no discount here at all. Okay, so we get the actual amount back, which is nice. Now we have been able to answer the next question. Of course, we didn't use any function here. So let's carry on. Revenue after discounts. Okay, we'll bring this out as usual. Now this is done. The next thing we want to do now is question 5. Calculate the total revenue generated. Calculate the total revenue generated from only products in the electronics category. Okay, so that means we want the sum of revenue in the products category. Now, one thing we might be thinking is, okay, which of the revenue do we use? Now, since discounts were given, that means this is the actual amount the products were sold. So what can we do? We can gray out this column. Okay, make it italicize it. Hold on. Do this, gray it out. Okay, just gray it out. Not the background this time, not the background, the text itself. It's too light, low contrast. Okay. Okay, then I know this is better. Okay, so we can gray this out so we know this is not actively in use. These are just formatting tips. Do you understand? And we can hide it completely. Okay, we hide it because we use it in our formula, so we should not delete it. If we delete it, we'll get okay, what's that? If we delete it now, for example, you get a reference error, which is saying the column you're referring to does not exist. Okay, so that is another error. So I want to, oops, I will hide it again. Hide. All right, this is what we have. Nice and cool. So we want to calculate the sum of products for only electronics category. So total, as usual, I'll drag this down again and just drag it down twice. I'll delete this. I'll say total revenue electronics. All right, so this is sum of price. So total revenue for electronics. Now in this case, we are not just calculating the revenue for all products or across all products. We are adding a condition to it. We're saying sum the total revenue only if they belong to the electronics category. That means we'll be needing a conditional statement. And you're right, you probably thought of it. If, but you see, I know what you might be thinking. You might be thinking, okay, if this and this, you might say, one of the if category equals to electronics, then sum this, right? Let me show you what I mean. If, then we say, I like this equals to electronics. As if I misspell, I will get an error. Then do what? Sum this. Okay, parentheses. Let me escape that and close it myself. Enter the formula bar and close that. I'm still missing one more. Okay, for the if itself, right? So that's one thing that comes when you have two nested functions. So red brackets, don't mind me, red bracket, and white bracket, white bracket. All right. And now you can see one challenge with that is that we got a spill error. Do you remember why? Because this column, this name is an array function, is an array formula, and since we didn't put our @ sign, it's spilled over. Okay, but there's even a better way to do this. Okay, that is the technical way you'd have thought about it, but Excel has thought about this even before we started using it. So it built a function for us which is called the SUMIF. And this is all we get. So SUMIF, it says the range and the criteria. What is the range? This is the range. Your range will always be where your criteria can be found. Do not forget that when we typed it ourselves, we started with the fact that check this column if it is electronics, right? Good. So we're saying check this column and check that it's electronics. I can click on it that way or just type it. electronics. Just type it. Now, if the category is electronics, what do I want to do? I want to add this up. Since we are using a SUMIF, Excel know how to handle it without a spill error. Okay, and I'll close the bracket and I'll hit enter. And you can see what we got. We're getting a single value. So it's saying, and what did it do? It only added this with this. Let's check ourselves, because the first two are the electronics category. So this plus this, you can see we get exactly the same thing, right? So I'll just copy this formatting here and apply here. All right. So I'll delete this, and you can see how nice we have it. Now we have been able to answer question 5, right? Question 5. So let's add that. And we have SUMIF. And then we'll move on to the next one. As usual, again, we'll grade this out. We'll bring it out. Click on that. Come here. Our green color. Now that is done. So we have used SUMIF as well. You can see how we're using quite a number of functions and we're able to understand how they work practically. The next one says determine how many products fall under the fashion category. How many? That's a count, not how much, how many. So we want to count the number of products in the category column. Now let's think about this. For us to do this, we know that the number of times fashion appeared here also determines the number of products that they sell. For example, fashion appeared here twice. That means they have 2 products, right? Fashion shoe, fashion bag. Nice. So we have what we need. So you have to think about the problem first before you start writing formula or functions. If you don't think about how to solve the problem, you might get stuck. I mean, we have a common saying or quote that, okay, 2 people are to cut down a tree for 3 hours. The best way to do it is to spend the first 2 hours sharpening your tool. So you have a clear thought of, okay, this is exactly what I want to do, this is exactly what I want to do. You go faster that way, instead of just jumping into it and you're there confused. Do not misunderstand this. It does not mean you have to have it all figured out, whatever you want to do. No. The best way is to figure it out while you go. I'm saying, have a clear thought, have something you're looking at, have a goal, right? Have a direction, so that you don't just move. Magnitude or direction. Vector quantity, scalar quantity, that's physics. The scalar quantity has magnitude, but there's no direction. But a vector quantity has magnitude and direction. Speed in the wrong way is what is disaster. Do you get that? All right. So I'll do, okay, what do I want to type there? Number of products, and, oops, escape, number of products, good. Okay, I'll just put it there. Fashion, not that way. Fashion, close the bracket. Okay, number of products for fashion. So we'll do a count if. This time we're counting conditionally. So we're saying count if, and this takes just 2 arguments. Just 2 arguments, okay? And the first column is the category. And what are we counting? We're counting fashion. Do not forget, yeah, I know you can't see that place, but train yourself when you can't see that. Just look up here. We have it in the formula bar, so I can edit directly from my formula bar as well. So fashion, and then I'll close the bracket. So I'm saying count all the fashion products that we have. Remember the explanation. If there's a fashion category here, there's a product here. So if it appears twice, that means we have 2 products. If it appears 3 times, that means we have 3 products. Okay, so I'll hit enter and you can see we get 2, which is shoe and bag. Nice, getting the hang of it. Okay, so I'll take this out, make it green, and yes, we have that answer. Let's add that to our formulas or functions, I mean. And COUNTIF, COUNTIF. Okay, the next thing now it says show how far each sales price after the discount is from a set target, sales or revenue. That means the target is for the revenue, a revenue target. Okay, yeah, just ignore my grammar and construction of the question. Okay, of 100,000. It says for any product that exceeds this target, it should display nothing because they are positive, right? Else, how much value is it is. That means else you should display how much value it is away from the target. Note, negative value, let's see, negative value is not allowed regardless of whether it is above or below. So that means we don't want to see any negative value. Okay. Now, like I said, just excuse my construction of the question. Yeah, you probably feel like, yeah, you can have just typed this. It's okay. Thank you. I appreciate that. So what do we want to do again? We want to create a column that shows the target. Okay, so we'll add that here. Before we add it, let's add another space, Ctrl+Shift+. And we'll call this target. You can see automatically we get this table added. So type in there target, or let me say value away from target. Oops, escape. That's value away from target. Yeah, the column name might be long, but it is more descriptive. Okay, one thing is important when you're working, always keep your audience in mind. If you use a name they will not understand, even this now AD, they might still not understand. So the best thing will be to type after this one. Okay, so always keep your audience in mind. Okay, of course this is a video, so you know what AD means. So value away from target, we'll have, let's think about this carefully. 100k is the target, so that means we want to do this minus 100k. We want to subtract 100k from all of this value, and if it is a negative value, if it's a positive value, that means we are probably above the target. It should display nothing. But if it is a negative value, it should display it should not display the negative sign. Right, so let's start. This minus 100,000. 100, 1, 2, 3. Now, Excel table in more recent version has a way of displaying negative value very nicely. Okay, let's see it. You can see what it did for us. It's wrapped in a bracket. Don't worry if your version of Excel is not doing that. We're still together, okay? So you can see how nicely it's wrapped it in bracket. But this does not mean we understand what's going on, or the layman understands, right? Or a non-technical person will understand, except the person is an Excel expert in the first place. Do you get? So let me paste it here and show us what that means. Okay, my bad. I'm supposed to paste that as value. Control-Alt-V. All right. Now let's do that again. This minus 100, 1, 2, 3, 100k. So you see the first one is 710. If I fill down, I get, let's adjust this. Okay, it is still giving me that as negative value, or as brackets. It is not supposed to do that for me, even though I have done that. Do I have any other version of Excel? Okay, you get the idea. But the point is, this is supposed to show negative value. For you, I don't know what version of Excel you're using. If it shows negative value, leave a comment so that I know, okay, some of you are getting negative values and some are not. Because this is a more recent version of Excel, I'm getting this nicely titled value. Okay, so let me do that again and just see how it does it for me. Oh, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+C, Ctrl+V. So this is what I have. Let me type it this here. Okay, I just want you to see it. Okay, so this now minus 100k, 100, 1, 2, 3. Okay, eventually this is what you're supposed to see, depending on your version of Excel anyway. So we don't want negative value, and of course we don't want brackets in this case. According to the question, if the value is above the target, it should not be displayed. That means we are not away from the target, we are probably above it. But if it's below the target, we don't want it to display the negative value. Now we have two ways to do this. In the first place, adding 100k directly to all the values is not a bad way, though we could have decided to put it somewhere. You can just say target. Okay, so let's do it this way. I'll copy this style, apply it here, So I'll move this way. Don't worry, our functions are still there. So target, and then I'll put the target here as 100,000. Oops. So as 100,000. Now, one nice thing to do is to name this column. You'll see why in a short while. Target. Alright, so now I've named the column, which is target. So I'll come back here and edit my formula so I can pick out this hard-coded one. Why is that important? So that whenever I update this value, this can automatically update. Okay, which is a very nice way to work. So I'll take this out, put this there, and I'll click enter. Of course, we're still getting our values correctly. Why did I say this is important to name it? Now let me show you why. If I copy this same thing, Ctrl C, let's say I paste it somewhere here, Ctrl V, 100,000. This is not named, it's not a name column. I come back here and I take this out and I do this. Now, what do you think happened? Only the first one is correct. Others are wrong, right? It seems as if it just added to the first one and skipped others. Of course, we have it there. We have our formulas there. Why? Okay, yeah, you probably figured it out already. When I thought about, what's it called now? Cell reference. Yes, cell reference. Remember, we explained all of this explicitly. So if you didn't see that video, you might as well check the playlist again and watch the video. Okay. So here we have 100,000, but because the cell is not named, it automatically what? It is relative, so it automatically adjusts. But named cell, you can see it has shifted. You can see it keeps shifting, but named cells are automatically made absolute. Okay, this is one of the other reasons, or one of the many reasons why it is good to have a named cell. Beyond having a named cell, look at this now. We are seeing J11. What does J11 even mean? We can't tell. Okay, we cannot tell. We have to look at that column, and now there's no description there. Or let's say we even have description there, just like this. We have to go back to that place to figure out what it is. But what if we have a much larger formula? Instead of saying A2, D12, C3, all of those things, we have a more descriptive way of doing things, which is nice to have a named column. Okay, you can see target, which is very nice, and we don't need to do what? We don't need to lock. If we were to use this, right, all we have to do is come back here, take it out, take this, and lock the cell. Remember, F4. If F4 is not working for you, add function F4, Fn F4. So you can see now it is correct. Okay. Of course, we already have a named column, so we'll go with that, which is better in this case. So I'll delete this, which is better in this case. Now, just to demonstrate, using the last one, 51,000, and I'll do this minus, I'll just use our target directly. You can see we are getting negative value. So how do we remove the negative value? We use the formula called absolute, ABS. What does it do? You can see returns the absolute value of a number without its sign. So if it's showing us minus 49,000, it will return the value without the negative sign. So we'll be using absolute here. Then I'll wrap it and wrap it again. You can see how clean it comes out. Why? Because we have wrapped it in what? Absolute. Now we can go back here and wrap all of this with what? Absolute. So let's enter our formula bar to make it cleaner. Alt enter. So we'll break it down first and come back up and type ABS. Open the bracket. Alt enter. close the bracket. So it's just to make our formula readable, since we're trying to edit what we have before. So then we hit enter, and you can see that immediately we added absolute, the bracket is gone because it's no longer displayed as negative value. The bracket was to indicate that this is a negative value. Now we have it all clean. Now we have one more step to go. We can take this out now completely. We're saying it should not display if the value is not negative, because if we keep this way, we cannot tell which one was the negative value, which one is still away from the target. Okay, so we'll need a conditional statement to do that, an if statement. And how do we do it? We go back into our formula. Now, editing this formula will also give you the courage to be more confident and less frustrated, more calm about editing formula, because I found out that learners find editing formula very intimidating. They prefer to clear everything out. They'll just clear everything, delete it, and start the formula all over again, right? Because they feel like, where do I go from here? How do I change this and all of that? Okay, so but there's a better way. And I'm going to be learning what the Alt Enter to go to different lines. So I'll do Alt Enter now. Okay, so let's bring that up first. Let's keep this on a single line. I'll delete this, bring it up, bring this up. Okay, now I have this on a single line. So I'll go to the next line, Alt Enter, and say if, open a bracket. You can see how I'm editing the formula without stress. That's what the formula bar is used for. In case I can't edit directly here, I can do that here. Okay, if this, okay, now do not forget that absolute has already removed the negative value, right? So I'll take it, I'll copy this without the absolute value, without the absolute function, and I'll paste it here. Let me take out this bracket, it's not necessary. Okay, so I say if this will return a negative value, how are we to know that it will return a negative value? That means if it is less than 0, it's definitely a negative value, right? Good. Comma. So if that will return a negative value, what do we want to do? Alt Enter. Then we want to what? Take it out, display it without the negative value. So copy the entire formula at the top and paste it here. So we're saying display it without the negative value. That means wrap it in absolute. Else, what's the last thing we want to do? What if it's supposed to be a positive value? That means if it's not a negative value, display nothing. You just put an empty quote, nothing there. Just type an empty quote. That means we're saying display nothing. If we didn't put anything here, it's going to show false, 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 false. But we don't want false, so that's why I'm saying display nothing. Now I can go to the top of my formula and remove this guy right here. And you can see how my formula is nicely what? Formatted. Alt Enter again to keep it this way. So if revenue minus target is less than 0, wrap it with absolute such that it doesn't show the negative sign. Else, display nothing. And of course, now there's a mistake because I was supposed to correct this formula in the first column, not in the last one. So I'll copy all of it, Ctrl C, and I hit enter. Of course, it still affected it. It was still able to correct that for me. So you can see how nice everything is. So see, my formula is still there, but for negative value, it does not display anything. For positive value, it displays them without the negative sign. Yeah, I know that could feel like a lot. Just go over it again, take your time, and take it in slowly, okay? Now, another nice thing we could have done is use conditional formatting. For negative value, I like them as red. That means they're away from the target. And for positive value, I like them as green. So we can see how much we went above the target. So that is another challenge for you. Make sure you do it. And when you've done it, leave a comment, right, that you did it. Nice. And of course, if you want to share your work, feel free to check the description. You'll find the link to the Telegram channel there, where you have other data analysts who wants to learn. It's constantly updated with resources, materials, things to read, how you can keep yourself up to date, right? Job opportunities and all of that. Many things have been shared there. Okay, so you can feel free to check it out. Now this is what we have. All of these are blank, and here we have the value we want. So we have been able to answer that question. And yes, if you are still here, let's bring this up first to have answered this question. And yes, if you're still here, I think I should give you a thumbs up. Well done. It shows how much dedicated and committed you are to your learning process, okay, which is a very, very important thing. It is important that you start while you finish. Okay, yeah, you get the idea. You finish while you start, okay, it's important. It's a very good habit to cultivate, right? It builds your focus. You can get distracted at some point, that's okay. So bring yourself back. It builds your focus. You're able to focus on a task until you get it done. And it's very important. Why? Because eventually on the job, it's going to get boring. It's going to get boring. So you have to learn to stick with the process. Get things done from the beginning to the end. Okay? Yeah, that's that. By the way, so calculate the total revenue. Question 8 now. Calculate the total revenue generated from products in the electronics category where quantity sold is greater than 2. Now we're taking this a bit further. Earlier we did calculate total revenue for electronics products. Now we are saying not just electronics products, but the quantity sold is greater than 2. So not just one condition now, but 2 conditions. Okay, we're adding 2 conditions. Quickly, let me update this. We also learned ABS plus if, right? That's what we used. Nothing serious. Okay, so this is what we have. I was saying, oh, I think I should just move this down here. Okay, so it doesn't cover our formula. Alright, of course, it's a name column, so it will not affect our formula. Good. I'll take this, clear the formatting. Clear format. Okay. Now this border. Those are border color again. Black now. I prefer white. Okay. So this all borders. Don't worry about that. Just to give it all borders, so it can slightly differentiate them. All right. So we have done up to this point. The next one is total revenue for products, electronics products, where the quantity sold is greater than 2. How do we get this done? Product quantity is greater than 2. So we'll go back here as well. So where is it? Total revenue electronics. Paste that here. Then we'll say quantity greater than 2. Alright, so this is what we have. Let me expand that. So what columns can we hide now? Okay, so that we don't scroll too far and too away. We'll be hiding our say, let's hide the discount column. Hide. Okay, so this comes this way. Our quantity column. We're gonna use that. Okay, we're gonna use our quantity column now. We're gonna use our revenue. Okay, we're gonna use this much. We are not using it this much. Let's hide this as well. Okay, so it comes together. Okay, good. So we don't have to scroll too much. Now, for this function, we cannot use it because we need a SUMIFS. Plural now, SUMIFS, because we have more than one condition. So I'll say SUMIFS. Now, when we are working with the plural version of the mathematical plus logical function, for example, SUMIFS, average ifs, okay, the column we want to perform the calculation on comes first, unlike when it is singular. Let me show you what that means. Let's check here. Here, in this case, you can see that the sum range comes last. The sum range comes last. Sum range is last. But for SUMIFS, The sum range comes first. So ifs, let's say we have the sum range first. That's the major difference. The same thing goes with for average. So if I do average if the average range comes last. But if I do average ifs, okay, ifs, the average range comes first. Okay, keep that in mind. So equals to sum if, all right. So sum if the range, ifs that. So the range, since it's not too far from me, I will highlight. First one, check the category. That is electronics. Like I said, if you can't see it here, just keep your eyes on the formula bar. You'll see what I'm typing. Electronics. Then quantity, okay, is greater than 2. How do we do this? Of course, just put your right hand symbol, greater than sign, type it in quote, and put 2. That is all, except you're smart enough to know it. And of course, you might have caught what I did wrong here. I did not start with the sum range, okay? So it's simple. I'll just go back to the first column, right? I'll just take my cursor here and highlight the sum range. This is what we want to highlight. Then a comma. So let's break that down. As usual, Alt Enter, first condition, Alt Enter. So that's the sum range standing on its own. Let me bring this cursor here. Alright, it's better this way. So we have the sum range at the top, then we have the range and criteria, So yes, this should give us the answer we want. And this is what we got. And that is correct. So because that is the oops, let me remove that. The comma style is okay. I wanted to copy this style here and apply it this way. Okay. Now let's check to confirm that this is correct. Electronics, we have 2 electronics. The first one, the quantity is below 2. Okay, the quantity is not greater than 2. I mean, greater than 2 means 3. If it has been greater or equals to, it should have included this, but greater than 2 means this is not included. So this is the only one included, and you can see this is the value, and that is also what we have right here. Right, easy peasy. Let's give this nice formatting. Then just copy this format and then apply it to all this place. I think I prefer this instead. Yeah, I prefer this. You might be wondering, are they not the same? Well, I have borders around them there, so you can see the nice borders there. But it's alternating. I think one of the columns and is not. One of the columns is probably not made bold. I'm not sure. I didn't check. But let's see. Let's see what we have there. Okay, they are not made bold, but it's okay. At least we have what we want. Okay, so this is what we have, and here can be. Let's leave it that way. Next question. Now I've been able to answer that question as well. And you're still here, another thumbs up for you. Okay, so give this a green color. Now I want to compute the weighted total revenue. It says we want to compute the total weighted revenue by combining the price and quantity across all products. Now this is one nice use case for some products. And you see how nice it is, but let's see, did we use any new formula so we can add that there? Let's check the last time we did SUMIFS. Okay, so just gonna add that there and SUMIFS. So the next thing we want to use now is SUMPRODUCT. Okay, we want to use SUMPRODUCT next. So let's just start that in advance and SUMPRODUCT. I want to calculate the weighted revenue. Okay. What does that mean? Let me show you. Let me drag this down. Weighted revenue in this case is the same as revenue before discounts. So revenue before before discount. That's what we want to do. Revenue before discount. Okay, because it says we should do that using the quantity and the price. So we're saying before the discount was applied. That's what it means. Okay, so we can do, of course, we can do the same for after the discount was applied. All right, we can do that as well, and I'll show you when we're done. So we have this and this. What we want to do now is use the formula. What will the formula do? Let's break it down. Sum product. It means the sum of products. Addition of multiplication. That means what it will do is this. Let me show you. Simple example. It will do, let me open a bracket, this multiplied by this plus this, I'll put that in bracket as well, this multiplied by this, okay, plus, now you can see that you understand what is going on. So sum plus of product multiplication. So that's what the sum product will do. So we are basically saying give us the total, the sum of this revenue, of course not this one, the one before discount, and we'll check the value to cross check if that is correct. So let's take this out and come here and do a sum product. So the first one, I'll highlight the price. It says RA1, RA2, so we can add more. As I said, we can also calculate it for discounts. Just highlight, it does the mathematics. You see what we broke down, it does it for us automatically. That means you must use array of the same length. Okay, so this is what we have. Now hit enter and see what I got. So let's format that nicely first. Pick this, add it here. Okay, so let's find out if that is correct. So let's unhide our columns. Revenue before discount. Okay, raha. Now let's check. Do not forget the figure we have here. This is 2.6 million. So let's just do a sum here, and we can use Alt plus to get the subtotal. Okay, Alt equals to, I mean. So you see, Alt equals to just give us the sum total. You can see what we have, exactly the same figure. Don't worry, you've confirmed the figure, right? Now don't worry, I didn't do any magic. Let me undo that. If you go to your own, under the auto sum, you will see it shows what? Sum, auto sum, that's Alt plus equal to. It says automatically add it up, the total will appear after the selected cell. Okay, cell range. That's what I did. If we were to do it manually, we'll do sum, and then we can highlight it ourselves. And you can see we're getting the same figure. You can see how some products could have helped us avoid all of this in one single go. Right? Very nice. So I'll hide this again. Hide them back. Okay. So I think we can hide this too now. I hope we can. Alright, so this is all we have. Let's continue. So far we've had some products. That's what we just did. So let's look at the next question. I have to answer this question now. So I'll make this green. And yes, we have come to the end of the questions. The last one. So if you stick to the end of this video, again, I give you another thumbs up. You show commitment to the process. And that is a very good skill to have beyond any other thing, right? It's a very good skill to have, finishing what you start. So let's go back to the ranking of products. It says rank all products based on the price from highest to lowest. Okay, I know I've hidden the price. Oops. Yeah, that's because we have this. Yeah, so it's trying to expand up to this, but this is not what I want to do. Okay, I want to expand this. Okay, so it has expanded everything automatically for me. Revenue before this now, it did not. E, okay. D, all right. So I'll do this again. I did back. Okay, what else do I want to hide? Okay, so this is what I want to do now. I want to rank the product, and I want it to be before, so I'll expand this again. Yeah, I'll expand this. So I want it to be before the quantity. So I want to be before the quantity, so I can hide all of this now. Let's just hide all of them. Hide. Oh, funny how we did not use anything with the sales rep. It's okay. So now I won't be able to hide it because that's where we have all our questions anyway. So rename this to price rank. Price rank. So to use the rank formula, what does it do? It's just like giving it positions based on the value. 450 will be 1. That means the first position, as it were, right? The top ranking, the number 1, right? Top 10, top 5, something like that. That's what we're trying to do. So we're going to rank it, and let's look at the formula. Rank.EQ, rank equivalent. And of course, you see we have quite other rank, or majorly we have this rank. Average. Rank average is used when you have a tie. Okay, it's best for using with ties. But in this case, we're not considering any ties. So rank EQ, how does it work? We click on the first one, comma, then we highlight the entire column. Okay, so what are we trying to do? We're saying compare this price with the rest of the price and tell us where it falls. Does it fall on the top 1, top 2, 3, 4, 5? Right, where does it fall? Of course, it should include that number itself, right? So this is the entire range, and we're comparing this to it. The last argument, which is order, is optional. And what does it do? Order is for sorting, ascending order or descending order. Okay, so we ignore it completely in this case. The default sorting order is usually ascending. Okay, so we are cool with that. Cool with that. Let's see it in let's say visually so that you understand what I mean better. So hit enter. You can see how nice this came out. Oh, 1, correct. 2, that's the second biggest. 3, third biggest. And you can see 4, it was able to smartly rank them for us. 4th biggest and 5th biggest. Right? That's the way it is. So do not forget I said the sorting order is in ascending. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. If we had used the argument here, let's say descending order, okay, we would have been getting let me just skip that out. We'll be getting a 5, 3, right? That will be 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, kind of thing. That's what we'll get. But of course, like I said, we do not need it in that case. So I'll click on this, and we have come to the end of the task. But I have one bonus for you. Let's get to the end. I have one bonus for you. So let's add our function first, and just use the rank.EQ. So what bonus do I have for you? That is RANDBETWEEN. So I'll type that in lowercase. RANDBETWEEN. So I like this. Italicize it, and maybe gray it out somehow. Oops. Okay. Grayed out itself. Alright, so RANDBETWEEN, how does it work? How does RANDBETWEEN works? And I want to adjust this column a bit. So say wrap cell, wrap text, okay. Of course, we'll not be able to see it, all the functions again, but it's okay, we're done already. So the next thing I want to do is RANDBETWEEN. So let me just demonstrate RANDBETWEEN here. What does RANDBETWEEN do? What does it do? RANDBETWEEN. Let's clear it out first. This returns a random number between the numbers you specify. So you can generate random numbers between a minimum and a maximum number that we specify. So let's look at that. RANDBETWEEN. So we can say generate number between 0 and 100. If I click enter, you can see what I get. If I drag it down, let me drag it all this way as well, so you see. And see, we keep getting different numbers, but that will be between 0 and 100. So let me change this to 50 and see what happens. Okay, so drag this across here, drag this down as well. So you can see every number we get will be between 100 and 50, and that is what RANDBETWEEN does. What is the use case? You think of that. Okay, it's just a bonus function. Does that mean we covered all mathematical functions? No. Let's go to our formula tab again. Math functions. You can see we still have quite a number of functions. Aggregate, new function, very useful. Okay, very useful. We have quite a number of functions to round up, right? Round functions, degrees, exponential, decimals. You see, we have quite a number of functions. So if there's any function, you can feel free to explore. Okay, and if there's any function you want me to explain or demonstrate or teach, if we have quite a good number of requests for that, I might just drop a video. So well done again for seeing this through to the end. Thumbs up for you. And do not forget, for every exercise that came in within the video, I believe towards the end of the video, you should see some quiz, just simple questions based on what you just learned. Feel free to answer them. And for the ones I gave directly in here, say, oh, maybe use conditional formatting for one, do this for this, think of how you can use this. Make sure you do all of them. It's very important. They keep you active, they keep you learning. And feel free to share whatever you've done in the Telegram channel. Okay. And lastly, bye. All right, that is all for today. Do not forget, at the end of the series on that function series, we'll be covering the common Excel functions, what causes them, how we can fix them. And also at the end of the entire series as well, functions, I have this exercise reserved for you. Okay, I have this exercise reserved for you, but you will be getting this if you are in the Telegram channel, because as well, I'll drop it. I'm not making a video on it. Okay, so when we look at lookup function, you will see what you want to do. We look at lookup function, then we'll just do a brief intro into what is contained here, right? And yes, this brings us to the end of mathematical functions. You've come so far, and I say well done. So we have just one more left, which is the lookup function, and that's what we'll be considering in the next video. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, turn on the notification button so you get to be the first person who is notified when there's a new video. Like it, comment, share with friends, share with people who you know this might be useful for. All right, do not forget, value itself is not, knowledge itself is not the value, the application is the value. So start to think of it. How do you apply this where you currently work? What you're doing currently? How can you make your workplace better with the little you've learned? Gradually you start growing in knowledge, you start becoming a master of what you learned. I'll see you right in the next video. Bye.